What's up, babies? Thanks for joining me for this week's trauma dump. Okay, so I jumped into what happened to me while I was in the system, and I was gonna share more of what happened while I was in college and my addictions and what I struggled with, and I thought I was ready for that. I really did. And after watching it back, seeing that vulnerability played back at me, I'm not there. I'm really sorry. I want to be able to share everything with you guys. I really do, but I think that I've learned recently that some things have to just be for me. One day, I hope I can share it with you guys. But I appreciate you guys for watching what's to come, which is my foster care experience and every traumatic thing that happened to me while I was there. So that's fun.
My fear of diving in too deep talking about my foster family is that you guys will go find them and ruin them. So I continue our walk. My experience with foster care wasn't the same as most people's. I didn't go into a group home, you know. I went into a family from my church that everybody expected to be loving, everybody expected them to be caring. They were the perfect church family. Our foster dad was incredibly successful engineering man and incredible provider for the home, and our foster mom helped run missions and influenced the church, and she was my sister's small group leader, for Christ's sake. And my sister and her, they were friends before they took us in. But then everything changed after my mom died. Then we hated everybody. So I'll start with our faults so that nobody thinks I'm just going into trashing my foster family. My siblings and I hated them. We did. We were such assholes. We were not good kids. We did everything we could to make their life a living hell for the first year or so. And then we started to get into line a little bit more once we realized this was inevitable, and it was either stay with them or go into a foster home, go be with 20 other kids. My brother, my sister, and I had all very different experiences, and I can't really speak for theirs. My siblings both ran away from home quite often, and at some point I just realized that I had to play the game. In order to do this, I had to play the game. And so I did. It became yes, dad, no, mom, whatever. I did exactly what they wanted me to do because I just couldn't risk it. I couldn't risk going away to this farm that my brother lived on in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't the path that I wanted to go down. It wasn't worth it for me to fight with them anymore. When you have foster parents, they have to document everything that they get for you. Not a lot of people know this, but if you're in Texas, I don't know if this is the same for other states, they pay you to take in foster kids. They were making $1,200 per kid per month. And that money's supposed to go to those kids. Eventually, when my foster parents kicked me out, I finally went and found those records. And they were all fraud. They said they bought us things they never bought us, that we were getting new shoes every 3 months and new clothes. And like I said, I wore the same stuff until all the way through my whole life. Nothing changed. They just weren't taking care of us how parents should have. And it was very obvious. They already had 3 kids of their own. And they made it very clear to us that these were their kids and we were just extras. We were just leftovers, scraps from the table. And when someone's treating you like you're not meant to be there, you're not gonna act like you're supposed to be there. I got lucky whenever I got to high school, started to do dance and things and find a little bit of a community. But nobody at school knew about my story. Nobody knew what was going on. Everybody thought that my foster parents were my parents, and I never corrected anyone. I mean, unless you went to middle school with me and when my mom died, they sent out a letter to my entire school telling everyone my mom died and inviting everyone to her funeral. And everyone went because it was an excused absence, even if they didn't know me. So unless you were a part of that, by high school, nobody really knew. It wasn't really that big of a deal. I think that the hardest part was definitely foster kids are forced to go to a lot of therapy, a lot of therapy. By the time I was graduating high school, I had 2 different therapists I would see and a psychiatrist to medicate me. And my foster mom wanted so badly for me to be clinically insane. She wanted so badly for things to be wrong with me other than my diagnosed PTSD was not enough. She needed me to be insane. And I got to a point where I was okay, my brother had been kicked out. My sister had also been completely separated from my family after she was in college and gone to live with my grandparents. And I was okay, I hit a breaking point one day where I was like, damn, I just really want a family. Like that's all I want. Like I just really want people to love me and care about me, and I will do whatever it takes. And I told my therapist that, and they were like, okay, then you just need to be honest about everything you've ever lied about. Easy, butter. Sort of. Took a little yellow notepad and wrote down every lie I'd ever told since living with them, from the small things to the big things about how I would sneak down. They made us keep our phones downstairs at night. Never had a smartphone, but they made me keep my little BlackBerry downstairs plugged in every single night. And sometimes I would sneak down and I would get my phone and I would check it and I'd be like, what's up? Like, about a month prior to this, that's how I found out that my dad died. He had been in and out of jail my entire life, my biological father, not my stepfather. And I'd only encountered him a handful of times. And I just like snuck downstairs because something in me was like, you should go downstairs. And I picked up my phone, and it was my uncle calling, who I'd never met before. And he told me that my dad passed away. And my foster parents were like, well, why weren't you down here stealing your phone? So that was, I couldn't tell them intuition. They were just like, you're a liar. You were getting it to talk to some boy or do some stupid thing. And I was like, probably, I don't know. But I finally was honest about absolutely everything that had ever happened. And I sat down with therapy with him the next week. It's about a month before my birthday. This is February of my senior year. And I read it to them, thinking that that would just be it. They were children of God, you know. Of course they were going to forgive me. They're so big in church. I was like, if I'm honest, they'll forgive me, and I'll be a part of their family. And we finished reading that list, and Lisa and Chris both just looked at each other, and they stood up, and they said thank you to my therapist. They said, let's go home. And when I went home, they took my phone, and they were like, we're going to take your brother on your spring break trip, and not you. And I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't take it with that much grace. I definitely screamed and cried and kicked, and I was so pissed. And they went and picked my brother up from the farm he was staying on and took him on my spring break trip. And I stayed home, and I spent that week working at the daycare I was working at, living my little life. And when they came home, you know when your parents hide your phone? And she went in her room to get my phone, and it was gone. I had been locked out of the house for the week, but she was convinced that I had broken in and stolen it. I told her, I was like, if I stole it, wouldn't I have put it back? And why would I be asking for it if I already had it? But there was no logic that could console her. I went to school the next day, and when I came home, all my bags were outside. She said, you gotta leave. I was like, oh, wow, this will be interesting. This is about 5 days before my birthday. I went and stayed with a family friend for a little while, and Lisa picked me up from school every single day and took me to a different psych ward every single day. And she said, all you have to do is tell them you're crazy. Tell them that you're a danger to yourself and others, and you can come home. I got tested at 7 different psych wards, and all of them concluded that nothing was wrong with me. They're like, you're a traumatized kid, but nothing's wrong with you. Like, we can't admit you for that. We can't put you in here. I turned 18 years old. My foster mom had the rest of my stuff outside in my house that day, told me, we're done with you. That's it. This was your last chance. You fucked up. You should have told them you were crazy. I remember sitting in that office that very last time begging them. Like, there's this woman, and I was like, please, you have to take me. You have to take me. They'll never let me go home. And I'll always be grateful to that woman for telling me no, for being like, absolutely not. She's like, you'll ruin your life. Like, you'll never be able to recover from this. It was either drop out of high school and admit myself to an inpatient facility, but keep my family, or good luck on your own. And so I didn't really choose. I was just like, all right, good luck on my own. Went off, tried to do the whole thing. My foster parents made sure that every single parent from my school and my church knew that I was not to stay with any of them. They cut off every tie that I showed up to every single friend's house, and I knocked on their doors, and I begged their parents. I was like, please let me stay. And they're like, sorry, your parents said you can't stay here. I ended up sleeping in the locker room at school for a while. Did the little homeless thing. It was cute. Thankfully, I was in dance, so I was already at school earlier than everybody else. And then one day, I went to my dad's funeral and I met my biological grandma, and she heard what was going on. And so a few days later, she picked me up from school. She pulled me out of school early and picked me up and said, you're gonna come stay with me, but you can't tell anyone. You can't tell a single soul. We can't let your foster parents know where you are. And this is whenever we ended up going through the whole court process and finding all those records and learning that my foster parents had been lying about everything. And I got my check switched into my name. So I got that $1,200 a month until I finished school, thankfully, which set me up in order to go start college early. Got into Texas A&M University, got a full ride scholarship because as a foster kid, you can go to whatever school in Texas you want. They'll pay for it. And I got so lucky with that. I don't know any other foster kid that knew about that opportunity. You know, nobody tells you. My siblings didn't know, and they're probably still pissed at me to this day for not telling them. I didn't mean to not tell them. It came up before I finished college. They both could have gone back by now. I have not spoken to my foster family except to get my birth certificate. They're just not people I care to mend things with, you know? Well, that's some of my foster care trauma. My fear of diving in too deep talking about my foster family is that you guys will go find them and ruin them. Foster parents are doing kids such a huge favor, but to treat the kid like that nonstop makes them so resentful. Like, just that I was constantly in debt to them for everything that they were doing for me. Instead of it just, some point it was just like, hey, we chose to do this. It was always like they were forced to do it, which, to be fair, my mom did ask them on her deathbed. She was like very much so like, take my children, you know? And it's like, what are you gonna say? No? Like, that would be even more fucked if they said no. Unequipped foster parents, man. It's such an uncomfortable subject to talk about, to chat about. Like, I don't know why it's so hard for me to talk about my foster family. It's crazy. For so long, I wanted to dog on them publicly. For so long, I wanted to just expose every horrible, cruel thing they ever did. But it's not like I want to ruin them as people. Like, they just didn't know what they were getting themselves into. And then once they were into it, like, to give away 3 kids you took in while you're in the church, I can't even imagine the pressure. Even if they're like 6 months in, they were like, frick, we changed our minds. They couldn't. There was too many eyes on them. Starting to see their perspective. That's kind of cool. That's new. I've never done that one before. I don't think I've ever once tried to put myself in their shoes. That's horrible. I shouldn't have said that. I hope they're doing well.
And for safe measure.
Look at that. Look at what's right there. A free sled. A free sled. Oh, there's a hole in the sled, man. Whatever. I think I've got a vibe.
So as I mentioned before this started, I thought I was ready to share this story. And I went through the sand dunes and I walked through and I told everything and I blew my own mind. But again, we're not there yet, guys. My addiction is something that I'm going to keep private for quite a while. So thank you guys. And let's continue on with the trauma.
My sled! Jesus, what an interruption. You know what? Real quick. I have dreams. And so it begins. Yeah! That was awesome! That might have been anticlimactic for y'all, but that was great for me. Okay, let's go. Oh, stairs? It's crazy how nature does that, man. Crazy. What? Oh, these are Mr. Thickums, bro. These are thick as fudge. Oh. What kind of prints are those? Are those bear paws? Where were we? Dude, I started flip-flop. No friends, no boyfriend, nothing to do, oversharing every piece of my life that you could ever imagine. COVID was happening, so everybody was in quarantine. I was just stuck in my apartment complex, which I was so blessed to have coming back because I was still in college, so I still had housing. But all I did was one day I posted like 5 videos. A video of me like making a power bowl from HEB, a video of me longboarding to my friend's house to give them soup, like just a bunch of random crap, and nothing like blew up. Everybody's like, so what'd you blow up for? What was the video? None of it. Like, it was such a gradual progression. Like, by the end of the first week, I had 10,000 followers. By the end of the month, I had 150K. Like, I didn't just like sprout to 1 million super fast. I think it took like 4 months, 3 or 4, maybe 6. I can't really remember. But it was also crazy because like when I started, I was just on like alcoholic TikTok. Like, I was just drinking all of the time. And I think the reason it went so well for me was because it was COVID. Nobody else was doing anything. So people were all sitting on their screen scrolling and watching people do things because that's what they were wanting to do, but couldn't. And Texas didn't shut down like other states. I mean, hell, I started bartending during COVID, you know? And then one day I was out with a friend and we found a baby duck. And then I called my sister because I was like, this duck's freaking out all the time. She's like, well, they're herd animals. They need more than one. So she brought me to an exotic duck breeder, and I got 2 more because they won't let you just buy one, even though you already have one. I thought that was pretty ass backwards. So I ended up with 3 ducks. My first collab on TikTok was with Two Turt and Tony. That was weird. Zoom University dates. Do y'all remember those? Oh, dude. TikTok was just such a wild ride so fast. Like, I became friends with a pretty big influencer and almost got canceled for refusing to be in a fake relationship. Like, I got in a rap battle with him. A rap battle. That's how we solved those problems. And none of my friends were supportive. They all like wanted me to get off the app. They were all saying that this was a waste of my time, that I need to focus on a real career. But I didn't even view it as a career. It was just something I was doing for fun. Like, it wasn't like that at all. I'm glad I did it. Like, I'm glad that I had fun with it. I eventually had to move out of my apartment complex, which made sense. But I moved out, and from then on, I was homeless. I didn't want to sign another lease, have COVID flare up again, and then everybody gets sent home from school because I didn't have a home to go to. So I wanted that freedom, which led to just a lot of couch surfing and living off of my longboard with a backpack. And I documented the whole process. It was, honestly, I loved that lifestyle more than anything. That's when I was like peak happy Sayla. I started flight school with all the extra money I had since I wasn't paying rent. And I started to become a pilot, and that was my biggest passion. That still is one of my biggest passions. Like, I love flying. Like, I could spend the rest of my life doing that. But I went on a first date once with this guy, and I documented this too. I like put a video out that I was like, yo, I'm going on this date. I feel really good about it. And it was so good. It was such a good first date. And the next day I was like, come skydiving with me. And he was like, okay. We went skydiving together, and I had a sinus infection and just didn't know. And my eardrums exploded. The doctors explained it to me that my eustachian tube sealed from the pressure change, and they thought I was just going to be deaf forever. I remember when I got to the ground and they asked me, how was it? And I just couldn't hear them, and my ears were hurting so bad I thought that they were bleeding. I had some friends there that were like, no, this is normal, like, let's just all go hang out and like everything will be fine. And spent the night at the bonfire with them, doing some substances that just made it feel even worse. I was like, oh, okay, this is not it for Sayla. I knew right then, I was like, I'm deaf now. Like, this is crazy. I couldn't hear anybody talking unless I was like, my hearing was maybe at like 6% if you had to put a percentage on it. Like, I couldn't hear anything. The doctors had recommended at this point that every doctor said I was just going to be deaf and to start learning sign language. But then I met with a holistic doctor who recommended a mucus-free diet because I could essentially get all the fluid out of my ears if I got my body to stop making mucus. And so I did, and I only ate grapes because he told me I needed to be really strict at first. So only grapes for 3 months. It was more like 6 weeks at first, and then I got to introduce like sweet potatoes and broccoli. And that is how I met Theo, because I needed I needed to go pick up my grapes. But I'll tell you guys more about that at the next spot. Let's go. The story of Theo and I, that's going to be for another time. But what I want to tell y'all is why I'm doing all of this, you know? Like, the whole reason I told you my story is to explain what's happening next. And what's happening next is that I want to start a foundation for kids who grew up like I did. Maybe not exactly. Also, I'm a liar. I'm too cold for this. All right, so here's the deal. I want to start a foundation, but clearly I know nothing. Well, not clearly. I know a bit, but it would be so arrogant of me to assume that my story is enough. I know what I needed. I know that when everyone was getting sent home in Spain during COVID, that I needed someone to tell me what to do. I needed my mom. I needed my dad. I needed somebody. I know that when I was battling my drug addiction, I needed a support system that I didn't have. I know that when I finally did age out of the system, that I needed someone to explain how to make money without selling my body, which, again, didn't like for a check, you know, but I did sell my plasma. I sold my blood. Like, there's still holes in my arms because of how often I did it. Like, there had to be a better way to do things than what I was doing. And I think I know what that is now, but I don't think I know that universally for everyone. So if I made it off my own knowledge, it would just be a system particular to Selah, but I want it to work universally for everybody that ages out. So over the next year, I'm gonna go on 7 wonders. I'm gonna go to South Africa to dive with great white sharks. I'm gonna go to Brazil to highline. I'm gonna go to Turkey to jump out of a hot air balloon. And along the way, I'm gonna be training for these things, and I'm gonna be interviewing other foster kids. And I'm gonna be interviewing other foundations that work with foster kids, because I wanna know what they want, what they need, what they think is best. And over time, I'm gonna accumulate all that information and use that to create the foundation. 1 year, dude. I'm giving myself 1 year to figure this out and create this age up project, because aging out is stupid. Being spit out into the world. You need to age up with everybody else, you know? Life isn't fair, but maybe we can level it out a little bit. I love you guys so much, and I really appreciate you for watching this. I really appreciate you for taking the time to hear my story. I know it was a lot. I know it was long. But I've been waiting to share this for longer than you can possibly imagine. And I never thought that this would be the way that it was done. You know, I always thought like Beyonce was going to star as me in a movie or something. Maybe her kid. Yeah, she's still cute. If you're watching, Beyonce, this one's for you. Dude, I'm beyond excited, but I'm also nervous. But those are like kind of the same emotion. They give the same physiological response. I'm so scared I'm gonna mess it up. I'm scared I'm gonna ask the wrong questions or say the wrong thing. I'm scared that even if I do everything that I can, it won't be enough. Which I know is irrational. I know that that's stupid. It's just thoughts and feelings. I know I'm capable. God, I really wish you could just save everybody. I wish I could just go. I wish there was an alarm on my phone every time my kids aged out of the system, and I could add them into my contacts list, and they could call me anytime they needed something. I wish that was the system. Because I just want to be there for everybody. Like, I wanted someone to be there for me. Gosh, I'm feeling so overwhelmed with it all. but also so damn excited. Like, so excited to finally do something that's not just making stupid videos on the internet. Because as much as I love that, and they're not stupid, like, they've definitely done good, but I want to do even more. And I'm ready to do more. Dude, I am so excited. I'm so stoked.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being here for this journey. I turned this from 3 chapters to 2 chapters. So this is the last video of this little series of my trauma. So thanks for watching that. Next week, I'll be telling you guys how I met Theo, what happened with Theo, what the truth is behind our whole dynamic and homies with feelings. So stay tuned for that. I love you guys so much, and stay tuned for how this project develops. I'm sorry I'm moving the camera so much. I'm just so excited.